Okay, I'm going to try and do this one more time because I'm having some technical difficulties. So, um, uh, with starting with questions like 27 and 28, those are asking you here's some data, here's some points, and they want you to find the best fit power equation, meaning some power of x being multiplied by some number. Like could be a quadratic, could be x squared, could be x cubed, could be x to the fourth. They want you to figure out what power would look best with that data. And so let me show you a couple things here real quick on this handy dandy calculadora. If I go to graph some things right now, and these are not things that I want to graph, but I did already put the data in. And so if I go to, if I arrow up here, if I hit enter, now all of a sudden that plot is on, and if I hit graph, let's see what happens. Look, there's some of those points. And let me zoom out. Zoom, let's see, out is number 3. So I'm gonna hit 3. And then I want to zoom. Yes, I want that to be my center. So hit enter. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It already has these 4 points in here. This is 3, 4.5. This is 4, 8. This is 5, 12.5. And this is 6, 18. Okay. So it's got my data in here. And if you're looking at it, you're like, oh, well, that kind of looks like a parabola. So the odds are good it's going to come up with a parabola. Now, if you're going, how do you put that in there? How do you figure out which parabola it is? Ready? I show you. Stat. We're going to put these in the list, and we're going to go into stat to do that. We're going to edit the list. So you can either hit the number 1 on your calculator or just hit enter. I'm going to hit the number 1. Now I cheated. I already have these in here. But let's say you had some data in here that was the wrong data. If you go up to this spot here and then you hit clear, then you hit enter, it will delete that list. But I'm telling you right now, you do not want to touch this button, delete, when you're in these lists. Just trust me on that. It causes problems. If you arrow up and then to the right, then hit clear and then hit enter, it'll clear the list for you. You can type in what you need. I'm going to quickly type these in using my finger and touching the screen. So 3, enter 4, enter 5, enter 6. Those are my X values. Then I'm going to arrow to the right, and I'm going to type in my Y values, 4.5, 8, 12. Whoops. Let's try that again. 8, enter, 12.5, enter, 18, enter. So now I've got my list in there. And again, because I turned that stat plot on, if I go to y equals, that stat plot is on. If I hit graph, it'll show me those points. But I don't want it to show me. I want it to give me an equation. So we're going to go to stat, and we're going to go over here to calculate. And the way you do that is you hit this you arrow to the right, and then we're going to go down all the way until we hit power regression. REG means regression, which just means best fit for our purposes anyway. There it is, power regression. So then we hit enter. And then it asks us, hey, where do you want me to find the X's? Yeah, I put them in list 1. Where do you want me to find the Y's? Yeah, I put them in list 2. So I'm just going to hit enter. And then you want me to calculate it now? Yep. So I just hit enter a bunch until it does it. It did it. Bada bing, bada boom. It did it for me. And this is what it did on the screen, right? So that tells me that Y equals A, they're saying is 0.5 times X to the power of B, so squared. So yeah, it did look like a parabola, and it was a parabola. That's the best fit. So over here, they didn't use A and B, they used K and N. So K is going to be 0.5, 0.5, and N is going to be 2. Bada bing, bada boom. You do it again, except you change the list. You go in and you change list 1 and list 2, which again, how do you get the list? You hit stat, calculate, arrow. No, my bad. My bad. We're going to change the list. So we got a stat and then enter to change the list to edit it. Then we would go up, hit clear, enter, up, over, hit clear, enter, type in the numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, enter. List 2, 13.5, 9, 6.75, 5.4. Good job. And then now we're going to do the same idea, stat, calculate this time. So we have to arrow to the right, go down to power regression. Now we're going, how do you know it's power regression, Miss Flannery? Because that equation it looks like they're asking for seems different than it was up there. It's the same thing in disguise. So we're going to hit enter once we get down to power regression, which is A. Enter. Yep, my X's are in list 1, my Y's are in list 2. Enter, 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 enter. It does it. But notice this time it's 27 and -1. 27 and -1. So what it's saying is that y equals, oh yeah, and apparently I must have typed something in wrong last time because it didn't come out that nice and cute. Y equals 27 times x to the -1. But remember, negative exponents just means flip it. So that -1 on the x means put the x on the bottom. And that's the way they've got it written here. So they're saying write it with a positive integer. Well, that's just that exponent's -1, but that exponent for n is -1. But the way they asked for it, with it being on the bottom, it won't be negative once we pop it on the bottom. So that'll make that a positive one and a positive one. Coolio? Coolio. Next, the quiz goes through all the way through 4-8. So I want to make sure I hit some of the 4-8 questions. And these are just about rewriting and simplifying um, radical notation with fraction exponents or rational exponents. So here's the deal. Bottom number is going to be, it's going to tell you what root you're taking. So I am now going to be taking the cube root of 64. Top number tells you your new exponent. So I am now going to raise all this to the squared power. And if you're going, but I don't know the cube root of 64. Okay. Well, some of these things you're going to have to memorize because some people would say 8. No, that's the square root of 64. So if you memorize some cube numbers just as much as you've memorized the squared numbers, like 2 cubed is 8, 3 cubed is 27. If you have some of those memorized, you'll get to the point where I go, oh yeah, I know that 4 cubed is 64. And you'll go, great. That means I'm really dealing with, whoops, here, the cube root of 64 is 4. And now I got to square it, which is just 16. Bada bing, bada boom. It's a beautiful thing. And yep, that's all true. If you're like, I don't have all these memorized, what am I going to do? One way you can handle it, factor trees. 64 is even, so that's 2 times 32. Okay, that's also even, so that's 2 times 16. Okay, that's also even, so that's 2 times 8. I'm going to keep going until I get only prime numbers. It's going to take a minute. And we go all the way down to here. And then I ignore all the composite, aka not prime numbers. And because it's a cube root, that means I'm looking for groups of 3, triplets, if you will, or 3 of a kind. Matches of 3, not pairs, but matches because it's cube root of 3, groups of 3. Well, what's 2 times 2, by the way? Yes, indeed, it's 4, right? So this would be the same thing. We would get here the exact same way as if you had memorized that the cube root of 64 was 4. You could do a little factor tree and go, oh yeah, since there's 2 of those, 2 comes out, 2 comes out, and it's squared, 4 squared, here we go. If you're like, no, no, I want to use calculator. Okay, as long as there's not an X, right? If this had said X to the 2/3, rewrite it, you can't tell me 16 because X could be anything. So it can't only be 16. It could be 16. It could also be 216. There's a lot of things it could be. So if it's an X, you cannot use the calculator. You would have to then know hint, hint, that this is the cube root of X and then squared. Or you could say the cube root of X squared. Either way is perfectly correct. Okay, but since it is a number, you can always pop it in the calculator and see how it goes. So we type in 64 to the power of 2/3. 2 divided by 3, hit enter. It tells us 16. Wasn't that cute? It tells us 64 2/3 of 16. So you can always check your answer with that as long as there's no X in it. If there's an X in it, you can't use the calculator. It won't do it for you. Same idea here, except now we've got a negative exponent. So the bottom tells us we're taking the square root of 9. Then we're going to raise it to the new exponent of -3. Square root of 9, we all know, is 3. 3 cubed is 27, but that negative exponent means we got to do 1 over 27, right? Negative exponents means we're going to flip it. And can the calculator do this? Why, yes, it can. Let me show you. 9 to the power of negative 3 divided by 2. Oh, did I type it in wrong? 9 to the power of oh, look, it didn't do what I wanted, did it? Nope, dang fraction. You know what? Calculators can handle fractions. Hit math, enter, enter, boom, 1 over 27. Again, that trick was math, enter, enter. Okay? So, and once again, though, if it had said x to the negative 3 halves, you could not type it into the calculator. Can't use that. No, 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 later. You'd have to then do square root of x, which is to the power of -3, which means 1 over the square root of x. And you can put the 3 on the inside if you want. Okay? If it's an x, you can't use a calculator. Same idea happens here. The calculator will do this for you. And so I'm going to stop this video and not stress about it. And don't forget, one more time, quiz this week, number 9. It's on Canvas. It's due Tuesday. It will not be open after that. You can do it.